Welcome to Graybo's Giblets. We are Gray Burnett, Ryan Fitz, and Duke Dodson. We own a sports card shop called Graybo Sports Cards and a sports bar next door called Parlay in Richmond, Virginia. We know you don't have 40 hours a week to pour over podcasts and spreadsheets, but we know you want to get in on the action, so we do the work for you. We bring you 30-minute giblets each week so you can feel good about heading up to the window and into the weekend. We are the intersection of sports lovers, fantasy heads, sports betting, and sports cards. We are out here dropping giblets for the people. Today, I am here with a special guest, legendary local attorney, sports bettor, high school football phenom, horse handicapper, and street brawler. We know him as the counselor. You know him as Keith Harvey, Esquire. How are we feeling today, counselor?
Feeling great. Thanks for having me. It's quite an honor to be on this podcast.
I think this is your second appearance on the pod?
Second appearance. Don't look up my picks from that last appearance. It wasn't Derby related. I do know that.
It wasn't Derby.
It was early season college football.
Oh, okay.
Predictions maybe.
We didn't hit you from the Derby last year. What did we do?
I can't imagine. I bet you didn't hit any winners.
I did not, and to be fair, I've not hit a lot of winners on the Derby. Much more success on the Preakness when there's like 7 horses. Today, we're going to break down everything you need to know about how to watch, bet, and enjoy the 151st Run for the Roses, the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, a.k.a. the Kentucky Derby, which takes place at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky, this Saturday, May 3rd, with a post time of 6:57 Eastern. The Derby, as usual, is a 20-horse race and the first leg of the Triple Crown. It is 1 1/4 miles long. Of the 3 races, it's the most legendary and the most volatile. You can watch the Derby on NBC, but I do recommend that you watch it this weekend here at Parlay. If you're in Richmond and if you're in Colonial Beach, then obviously the Riverboat is the spot. Our format today is going to be opening questions and trivia, overall outlook/storylines, our favorite Derby story. I look forward to that one. Our win bets, our exotic bets, and then our overall best bet of the weekend. So, Keith, let's start with a few opening questions, and we'll get into some trivia. So for you personally, Keith, where does the Derby rank for you overall in sporting events?
Ooh, it's up there. That they call it I think the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, and it's true for me. I get very excited in the lead up to the Derby, and those moments right when they come out of the gates is probably top of the whole year. That moment, the day, it's up there.
Can you feel it already?
Top 5. I'm starting to feel it right now.
Yeah. Same for me. It's definitely in top 5. It might be 1, 2, or 3. And this morning I was trying to think about what would outrank it. Like a singular event, right? Like you can't always get a Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but if that happens, that's pretty cool. The Super Bowl obviously is in the mix. I would say college basketball, day 1 is probably, to me, even more exciting than the championship at times. All right, so watching the Derby, rank these for me, these 5 categories. In person at the Derby itself, at a sports book, at a sports bar, a house party with, say, 30 or 40 people, mint juleps flowing, or home by yourself.
Not home by myself. There are some sporting events where I do like to watch home by myself. Derby is not in that category. As I've gotten older, more likely to be at a house party of some event of some type. That's more fun when there are people that kind of know what they're watching, and you have at least a few people to kind of share the intricacies with. Sports bars probably number 1 as far as excitement. If there's a big crowd there and everybody's getting into it, that would probably be number 1. I don't think I've ever watched a Derby at a sports book, to be honest. I've maybe seen it at the old Richmond OTB back in the day, but
so how about in person at the Derby itself?
That's awesome, but you can't see I've been there once, with you in the infield, and you can't really see the race. It's cool to be there. The day itself is awesome, but for purpose of just watching the race, no, I wouldn't put it up there in that same way, unless it's something historic,
Fair enough. Yeah, I think my list would be similar. I like a good house party. Like, as you mentioned, it's better if you're watching it not with noobs. I don't care if there's some noobs, but like you have cousins and dad and uncles who like follow it, and that's kind of cool. But we weren't open last year for the Derby. We were open for the Preakness. You were here for the Preakness last year at Parlay.
I was trying to remember. I knew I was here for one of the Triple Crown races. I couldn't remember which one.
And you and I have been to the Derby once. We went to the Preakness for your bachelor party. I've never been to the Belmont. Have you?
I have not been to the Belmont. That's on my bucket list.
All right. Couple quick hitters. Who's your favorite jockey of all time?
Ooh, I got to go with Edgar, Eddie, Prado.
Yeah.
Just he was hot in I would say like 2004 to 2008, late 90s, started getting into it seriously. And then early 2000s, I was, just diehard horse racing fan. And he was hot during that era.
I think that's my answer as well. I'll get back to our running joke about Eddie in a second, but I think I'll put Prado up there. I remember like Mike Smith when he won his first Derby. He was pretty advanced in age and was pretty emotional. That was pretty cool race. How about trainer? Favorite trainer of all time?
I don't know that I have a favorite trainer. I'm usually rooting for in this setting at the Derby, I'm rooting for the guy who hasn't won, has come close, and looking for him to pull through. There's so many legendary guys, but I can't say I have a favorite trainer, to be honest with you.
It's funny because in horse racing, it's often the trainers are more famous than the owners, right, which is not that's unique to me. When they used to scan the crowd and show would look like a bunch of old rich dudes, I assume they were the owners. A lot of times it's Bobby Baffert and D. Wayne Lucas and just legendary figures. All right, let's get to some trivia questions. I got to tilt my laptop so you can't see the answers.
All
right. So you and I attended the Derby in 2004. Who won the Derby that year?
Smarty Jones.
That's right. And then what were the odds on Smarty Jones that year?
Ooh. I want to say I know he had won the Arkansas Derby, and he was one of the top choices in the morning line. I'm probably similar to this year where it wasn't a clear favorite, but he was. I'm going to guess he was 4-1 in the money line and went off at 2-1 or something like that. Would be my guess.
When I googled it this morning, it was 4-1.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the very next year, Giacomo won. Longer shot.
Yeah.
Do you remember his odds?
I can't remember if Giacomo was a real big long shot or a medium. Giacomo was, Mind That Bird is the one I think of as and then more recently, Rich Strike is real big long shots. I want to say Giacomo's pretty big too, 40-1 or something.
Pretty close. Yeah, 50-1.
Okay.
I remember that between going to the Derby in 04 and then super into it in 05. And Giacomo kind of came out of nowhere at 50-1. I remember what the Superfecta tickets were paying that day, and it really got my attention.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So there have been 13 Triple Crown winners of all time. I'm not going to ask you to name them all because a lot of them are like in the early 1900s. But there have been 5 since 1973, including 1973. Can you name those 5?
5 Triple Crown winners?
Triple Crown winners, yep.
I'll try to go more recent history. You have American Pharoah and Justify.
Yep, that was 2015 and 2018, right?
You've got Secretariat, obviously.
73.
Seattle Slew.
77. This is the one I would forget.
And it was back-to-back 77 and 78, right? Was that not Citation? Shoot.
One word. Starts with an A.
Ali Sheba's who Secretariat went head-to-head with.
Yeah. Ali Sheba might have been the best horse of all time. The Secretariat didn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Affirmed.
Yeah.
That's the one I forgot when I was naming this morning. And just for you heads out there, starting the first one was Sir Barton, then Gallant Fox, Omaha, War Admiral, Whirl Away, Count Fleet, Assault, and then Citation.
I would have gotten 0 of the old ones, but they all sound kind of familiar.
Sound like they should have won. All right, so you and I both agree that the best and most common name for a jockey is Eddie, and then derivations of Eddie, right? Edgar, Eduardo, etc.
Correct.
If I don't know how much you looked at the jockeys this year. You probably have. If I set the line at 1.5, do you think there's over or under that many Eddies this year?
It's over because I don't know that they always tell you their middle name, but some of them will have the middle name.
I can't confirm nor deny the middle name, but there's actually 0 Eddies this year.
0
Can you believe it?
No, there's 3 with the middle name Eddie.
Yeah, so. You're probably right. I think there was one of the scratches. It was going to be an Edgar. So it was going to be 1, but I think currently it's 0.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with an educational moment for the kids. I know we have our audience is varying levels of horse racing knowledge. So can you maybe 30 seconds, explain what pari-mutuel betting means?
Pari-mutuel betting is, so, in normal sports betting, the sports book is setting a line and they're trying to get action on both sides. But when you put your bet in that context, you're getting it at the odds you got at the moment they print your ticket. And pari-mutuel, it is fluid where you get it's based on the amount of money that comes in on each individual horse and whatever the odds are at the time. So you're just betting against other bettors, and the house takes its take off the top. But if I'm the only one that takes, the rich strike in the Kentucky Derby, I would literally win the entire win pot,
right,
minus if I was the only one to take. But otherwise, I'm going to split with any other person that put a win bet on rich strike. We're going to split that money. Your share or your odds are not determined until the race goes off.
Which is unique, right? Because we're not used to that. In sports betting, you are rewarded by being early on somebody. Maybe they're at 10-1, and then by the time NBA Finals gets there, it's 2-1, but you still are locked in at 10-1, and that's not true in horse betting, where you might bet them at 10-1 and it goes off at 5-1.
Right.
You can't control that, right? So when the late money comes in, usually for a reason, there's some inside knowledge or whatever, hype or whatever. So that's unique. Can you explain? A lot of people think they know this, but they probably don't. The concept of win, play, show bets.
All right. So a win bet, you bet the horse in $2 the minimum as a general rule. And you bet a dollar amount for a particular horse to win the race, and to cash that ticket, they have to win the race. Any other outcome, you lose that ticket. Place, they can finish the second. They can either finish second or first, and you get paid. So you're going to be splitting that pot with, the winner and both the winner and the second place horse would have hit their place action.
So if I do a $10 place bet, am I really putting $5 on win and $5 on second?
No, it's just two separate pools. So like it could be, but you will split if someone bet the winner to place and someone also bet the second place horse to place, you all split the place, but you have to bet the place.
Right.
The win pool and the place pool and the show pool are all three separate pools. So it's something to keep it. And that's, if you look at the board, you can see how much each horse is getting within each separate pool. I mean, that's getting in the weeds and it's hard to track to some degree, but there have been moments where I'll see a horse who's, for whatever reason, is getting all this money in the win pool and nobody's paying attention to the place, for example, and maybe that's a good value to hit them to place.
And where do you see that personally? Where do you track that? You see it on TVG app, or do you?
Yeah, it's on the app, but live at a horse track, you'll see
the numbers beside their name, and that's what that is.
Yeah, on the board they'll flip around the different. They'll show the exotic, and the exotics. You'll see how much money has been bet into that exotic pool, what each combination would pay in an exacta, for example. They'll call it will. You'll look for the will pays is what, and they'll do the same for win, place, show.
Right. So if you're at the track and you see the horse and you see the three different numbers, that's the win, the place, and the show. Will pays.
Say that again.
When you're at the track and you see like the horses, okay, let's say when the race ends. The race ends and there's like the three numbers beside them.
Correct. Yeah. So the winner, they will show what they won for the win, what they won for the place, and what they won for the show.
Right.
Because they hit all three pools. And then the second place horse will show what they won for place and what they won for show.
Right.
And then the third place horse only hit the show pool, so it'll just show one spot what a $2 ticket would have paid you for. So if you bet $200, you multiply that by 100. But,
right.
It's showing what a payout on a $2 ticket is.
Right. So exotic bets, which are the bets like an exacta, a trifecta, and a superfecta. I'll try to explain it, and then you tell me if I'm wrong. So if you're betting the exacta, you're betting the correct combination of first place and second place. Trifecta is first, second, and third. And then the superfecta is first, second, third, and fourth. You can bet that straight up, like I'm betting this exact horse in first, this exact horse in second, for example, in an exacta, or you can box it where you take, let's say, two horses in an exacta bet, and it doesn't matter if they come in first and first. However, you're diluting your bet because if you play, say, a $4 ticket, you're really placing $2 on 1-2, and you're placing $2 on 2-1.
Right. You're basically paying for every possible combination.
Right. So in exacta, it's two combinations, and if two horses are involved. In a trifecta, if you bet 3 horses box, you're really betting 6 combinations. You're betting 1-2-3, 1-3-2, 2-1-3, 2-3-1, 3-1-2, and 3-2-1. So, for example, if you do a $2 trifecta box with 6 combinations, and that's a $12 ticket. But the ticket, if you win it, you have $2 bet on that winning combination.
Correct.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the superfecta is that, just with the first, second, third, and fourth.
Right.
So boxing can get expensive because you're betting every combinations. A lot of times, savvy bettors like you will key a particular horse to remove some of those combinations. You want to explain what that is?
Yeah, and just it's one thing that you can throw as many horses as you want into these types of bets. So you could bet in the Derby. When we think it's going to be a long shot, we've kind of half joked about the idea of throwing every horse in a trifecta box, and there are years where that would have paid handsomely.
Right.
But then the math on that is 20 times 19 times 18 to determine what the cost would be of a $1.
So you math heads out there, that's called 20 factorial.
Okay.
Okay.
And so you can throw as many horses as you want. A key is if there's a horse or a couple horses that I really like to win, but I think there are a bunch of horses that have a chance to get in the money. And that's, I have one bet I'm going to give out is the structure. So I'll put, say, number 8 journalism on top of the key. So I'm only betting journalism has to win the race, but then I'm putting 5 different horses in the second and third place position. So the math, if I were to box, 6 horses in a trifecta, you're looking at 6 times 5 times 4, so $120 on a $1 ticket.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put journalism on top and take those other 5 horses and box them in the second and third place. So for $1 ticket, I'm only paying $20. Now journalism has to win the race,
right?
But then the combination, what order they finish in second and third, as long as 2 of my 5 finish second and third, I would hit the try.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, historically, being more of a novice, I would box everything. So I had every combination, whereas Keith would often key a lot of horses, saving him some money on the ticket. And that's the beauty of horse racing. There's so many ways to bet it. And the other beauty of horse betting is a very small amount bet can win you a ton of money when you hit. And that's like the thrill, right? You see people jumping around in the stands. They probably won.
Especially in the Kentucky Derby is unique. There is no other race with 20 horses. So just think about the number of combinations and what I love about the Derby is the number of variables. You've got more public action in the Derby than any other horse race, so that can sway value pretty wildly. Usually your sharp bettors are going to be the ones that move a line. In the Derby, it's so much public money. It could be any explanation for why a horse's odds are moving. Some of these horses have never been in a crowded scenario, so you don't know how they'll react. They've never had dirt kicked in their face, if they're behind. None of them have gone this distance. Mile and a quarter is longer than any of the prep races. Crowd noise, it's 100,000 people there. That how is the horse going to react to that?
Rain, mud.
Yeah, add any of those normal things that are true of any horse race.
Yeah,
it's just so many variables, and to me, it's creates a hell of a betting opportunity to at least. I attack the Derby as I'm going to figure out how much money I'm willing to lose, and I'm going to try to hit a big one. The way. I don't always attack horse racing that way, but for the Derby, that's typically my my thought process.
Yeah. Same here, because it's such a volatile race. It's opportunity to win a bunch, and you usually don't, but if you do, it's a good story. On top of all the factors you mentioned, Keith and I in a group have owned a couple, slivers of racehorses over the years, and you get emails from the trainer every week about their health and condition and all that. You start to learn a little bit about how much rest they need. If they got a bum foot and they've sat out a month, and you know why, and the public doesn't always have all that knowledge. So think about when you're betting the Derby, there's a ton of stuff you don't know because the trainers are there with them every day. You can see them leading up, the weeks leading up to the race. You can get their times and everything, but you haven't seen it in person. And then obviously you can see them the day of, see how they're feeling, see if they got that look in their eye. People always talk about, horses as athletes, and some are better or more clutch, or winners. They got it out at the end. And it's just so many cool factors. All right, so let's get into our overall outlook and storylines. I'm going to give you some just basic facts. I'll let Keith dig into what storylines he's kind of looking into. So the favorite in this race is the 8-horse Journalism. He's currently at 3-1. He won the Santa Anita Derby. He's won his last 4 races. Lot of positive press coming out about him. In a second, I would like to hear if Keith's thoughts. A lot of times, if he really likes a favorite, he's going to go in on him. A lot of times, he'll take the favorite out for a particular reason. The second favorite is Sovereignty in the 18 post at 5-1. He won the Fountain of Youth. He actually came in second in his last race, the Florida Derby. However, the horse he lost to, Tappan Street, has now scratched. So it hasn't lost in the last 2 races to anybody in the race. Sandman is third in the 17 post at 6-1. And Sandman won the Arkansas Derby. The Virginia Derby winner, American Promise, trained by D. Wayne Lucas, is in the 5 post, currently at 30-1. And another interesting storyline, the runner-up in that race, Render Judgment, is in the 15 slot, also at 30-1. He was partially owned by Toby Keith. Toby had a lifelong goal trying to get in a horse in the Derby, and he passed away recently, but his horse got in. Kind of a cool story there. And finally, my favorite trainer, Bobby Baffert, has 2 horses in this race, the 1 and the 4. Other famous trainers, D. Wayne Lucas has 1, Brad Cox has 1, Todd Pletcher has 1, and then Stephen Asmussen, one of the best trainers in the world, has 2 horses in this, never won the Derby. And then finally, there are 2 Japanese horses, which are always kind of a fun element. So, Keith, what overall storylines are you following heading into this race?
After Journalism, I view it as a fairly wide open race. So a lot of it just depends on how Journalism runs in my mind. Journalism and this is baked into the odds, but all these horses are bred. You can look in the program and see who their sire was, which is their father, and the dam, the mother. So you want to, see how, if they're bred for this race, this distance, these track conditions, etc. Journalism's sire is Curlin. So I don't know if Duke will remember seeing Curlin in action live.
Is that who won the Preakness?
That's who won the.
Okay.
So we that would have been my bachelor party in 2007. We went to the Baltimore for a couple days, and mainly for the Preakness, and it was just wild. And
wild would be an understatement.
Yeah. Curlin won that race, and Curlin ran well in all 3. I think finished 3rd in the Derby that year, ran well, 2nd won the Preakness, and then got beat by a filly, which was historic in the Belmont, but it was a great race. Lost to rags to riches. But so Curlin is the sire of at least 2 horses in this race, one being Journalism. So I wanted to throw in that backstory. I do think Journalism is the best horse here. That doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily bet him from like a win perspective. I kind of want to wait to see what I have a feeling, because there's not a clear second horse or not that many in the second tier, that Journalism may get bet down pretty heavily to like a 2-1 or 5-2 at post time is my guess. But some of these emotional stories, the Toby Keith thing, people will pour money into that horse for emotional reasons, which is great. It's fun, adds to the excitement. But yeah, so Journalism is the horse to beat. I'm going to have some tickets that have Journalism on top, I believe, but I have some other angles that I assume we'll dive into some plays.
Yeah, definitely. So segment 2, your favorite Derby story. And so this could be an in-person story. It could be watching it on TV. Maybe it's a favorite betting story where something you won, or maybe you almost won, which is like we call it the Fitz story, where you almost win a bet but don't, and you go home and cry for 2 days. And what jumps to mind as your favorite Derby story?
So being at the Derby, that actually, I have a feeling that's going to be your story. But this would be '08. I used to, watch all the prep races and I still follow it, but not as closely as I once did. But in '08, Big Brown was a horse that won the Florida Derby, and I watched the race, and he won, turned on the jets, like really accelerated and won, going away in the Florida Derby. I just liked the horse. I liked his, everything about him. So I was really hyping him up the week leading up to the Derby, and that can burn you, make you look like an idiot, obviously. But and then he draws the 20 post for the Derby, which scared a lot of people away. And I actually thought in his case it was a good thing. It would take some money away from him, and he was so fast. I think having that extra space on the far outside would help him. Mm-hmm. So we, I don't know if you remember this, that day, Derby Day, was your engagement party was that night.
Yeah.
And we, of course, back then we used to pregame for any public function we had to go to. So I think we were at either Bailey's Sports Bar back in the day, or one of the sports bars in the West End. And, I'm all over Big Brown, telling everybody that'll listen that watch the 20. And I don't usually get real loud during races. That's not my vibe, but I got loud that day. And, oh man, he just sat there. It was DeSormo, I think, was Kent DeSormo, legendary jockey, I think, was riding him on the outside. You could tell he was just holding him back and just giving him room. And then when he asked him to go, he just took off, took control, and it was incredible. And so yeah, that was one where I put my money where my mouth was, and it actually paid off. So that was cool.
That's great. Did you give him a come to Charlie down the stretch?
I may have that day. Yeah.
Keith and I used to go to the horse betting parlor over on Staples Mill and Broad, and there was two guys that were always there. One was named Emery, and Emery was in a wheelchair and had at least one of his feet missing. So that's what he did. He hung out there, and he was kind of buddies with this guy named Charlie, really cool, probably 50-year-old black dude in a members only jacket. And when Charlie's horse would come around the bend, he'd say, come to Charlie. And they usually did. I've saw Charlie win quite a few dollars over the years. Yeah, my favorite Derby story is when we went in 2004. You, me, Mr. Ryan Sedgwick, Mike Duncan was there. We sat on the infield, which is a different experience than sitting in the grandstands. On TV, they show the people in their fancy dresses and the hats. Right. The infield is more of a drunken melee, and it rained a lot that day. At one point, a mud puddle emerged, and Sedgwick was running and sliding in the mud and kicking up mud on everybody that he could. You got involved in that. I'm not going to tell the whole story, so don't get nervous. But I will tell you that Keith and I went to Randolph Macon together, and we had like the same Randolph Macon like T-shirts and shorts, like warm-ups, whatever. And Keith at one point was down to just that day, because I think you were out of clean underwear. You wore your Randolph Macon little cotton shorts as your underwear.
Yeah, that's fair.
And,
that sounds right.
And you were sliding in the mud just in those. And what made the story funnier is fast forward a few months, the show Newlyweds, which was a big show of the year with Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey. They went to the Derby that year, and they're in the grandstands in the fancy hats. At one point, the camera is on the fancy people, and they scan over to the infield, and there's a bunch of idiots sliding around in the mud, and you could actually see Keith and Sedgwick on the show Newlyweds. So that's clearly my favorite story. I went to the Derby that year with you, and I had such a good time. I said, man, this is one of the things I'm going to do every year for the rest of my life.
Right.
I haven't been back, but
we're due.
We are due.
Yeah.
I told my dad about that, about how much I loved it, and he had never been. So he went the next year. Giacomo won, and he went like 20 years in a row. So he actually did the thing I said I was going to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, let's get into the betting. So segment 3, win bets. And sometimes I know you do this, sometimes you don't. But are there any win bets you're making this year on horses to win?
I will keep an eye on Journalism, the 8. If he stays where he is, I probably will do a sizable win bet. I think
at 3-1, you would do that.
Yeah, 4-1 definitely. 3 to probably even 3-1. If it gets below that, I'll start doubting it. My other win bet happens to be another curling horse, which is the 10 Grande. Okay. And Grande is bred for this distance, lightly raced, which some people don't like that. But ran his first stakes race, in his last time out, and ran well and you look at the program or watch the race, you can see sometimes they don't have a good trip. They get pushed out wide, whatever the case may be, where they didn't get the best opportunity to run their best race. So this horse went wide in that race, but was coming late. I think he can close late, and I think he may be undervalued, at post time. So the 10 Grande is my other win pick I'm looking out for.
Okay. I'm probably not betting the favorite 3-1 because I play so many bets, like exotic bets on this, that I would hate to hit the win and still not win for the day. I'm definitely going to have him factored in all my exactas and trifectas. But some longer shots I'm looking at. Final Gambit is 30-1, ridden by Luan Machado. It's a Brad Cox horse. He won the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Another one that seems to be trendy, which probably means it's not going to hit, is Tistastic at 20-1, ridden by Joel Rosario. Great jockey, one of the best, if not the best. It's a Steven Asmussen horse, and he's never won. A lot of people think he's due. He won the Louisiana Derby. So those are the two I'm kind of looking at, because if I hit those, I want to cover my bets for the rest of the day. Normally, a lot of races, trifectas is the way I attack them, because I want to be able to win a bunch of money if I hit. In the exotic section, in the Derby, a lot of times I'll focus on the exacta, because a lot of times just the 1-2 is enough to win you some money. So what are you thinking about exotic bets? And for the audience, exotic bets, mean basically an exacta trifecta super.
So
bet.
this, I am going to use my key strategy here. So leaning towards having the 8 and the 10 on top. So, the one of those two has to hit first.
Right.
And then I'll also put those two horses in the second and third spots, but I'm adding 4 additional horses in addition to that. So the 4 Rodriguez,
Baffert horse,
beat Grande in the last time out, but is getting way more money than Grande is. Just won the Wood Memorial. I'm gonna throw in the American Promise, the Virginia Derby horse, somewhat for sentimental. To be honest, but
is this the same thing as you bet on Russell Wilson?
Probably.
You're a homer.
Yeah,
okay.
Probably, I'm a homer. But D. Wayne Lucas is the trainer. So much Derby experience, and then that horse comes out of Justify, who is a Derby winner. And I think showing improvement might pop in the Derby, and will like this distance. I was debating which Japanese horse to throw, and I like it's very much a question mark, because it's hard to judge them against the American horses. But the one I'm throwing in the 7 Luxor Cafe, it's actually bred in Kentucky, but has been racing in Japanese ownership and been racing in Japan, coming over here for the first time. And then I am going to throw in the 14 Tistastic, won the Louisiana Derby. And I'm pulling, I mentioned I usually root for the trainer who hasn't won it yet, Steve Asmussen. He got in trouble a few years back for drugging the horses, but I think they all have by this point. So, but kind of pulling for him to win his first.
Doping is being destigmatized in horse racing, just like baseball.
I think they're probably tighter on it now than ever, but I think it's destigmatized.
Okay. So my exacta bets, I'm going to mix in the first slot, journalism and Tistastic. And then second, I'm going to put in journalism Tistastic with Final Gambit and Sandman, one of the favorites. In my try bets, I'm going to mix in at first journalism Tistastic, second journalism Tistastic, Final Gambit, and Sandman. And then in the third slot, I'm gonna keep journalism out of there, so I need him to come in first or second. But I'm going to take Tistastic, Final Gambit, Sandman, Luxor Cafe, Chunk of Gold, and Citizen Bull, the other Baffert horse. Now, I'm going to play with those. I might not put them all in there, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about as of now. All right, Keith, our last segment 5, our best bet of the weekend. This could be anything, a win bet, play, show, exacta, try, super, whatever. What's your one bet? If people want to make just simply one bet this weekend, what are you going to do?
So just sticking with my theme with the 10 Grande, you can have these exotic bets and be almost right and feel like, man, I really deserve to win, and you have no money to show for it. Right. So kind of I call it safer. It's not a safe bet because Grande's a 10-1 morning line, but across the board on the 10. So win, play, show on the 10. That way, he finishes second, and some horse nobody was counting on sneaks in the first or third, or in the money. You still walk away with something.
Yeah, similar here. I'm going to take his tasks across the board. Again, Rosario, Asmussen, he's I think 21, so enough juice where if he hits, it should cover my other bets, and that's how I'm attacking it. Well, Counselor, really appreciate having you on the show. You're a wealth of knowledge, and appreciate. I'm sure all the audience, especially the new guys, appreciate all the educational moments. That is all for today, folks. Thanks for riding with Gray Bows. Be sure you tune in next time. Please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you consume your podcasts. For details and show notes about today's episode, you can go to graybows.co/giblets. You can email us at info@graybows.co. Follow us on the gram at graybows_cards. And come to our sports card shop and sports bar located at 3117 West Lee Street. Thanks for riding with Gray Bows. Great. Keith, can I get a giblets real loud?
Giblets!
Well done.